So basically, I've been playing a bunch of tournaments lately, and somehow I end up losing my main putters. So the first time I lost the putter, there's a bunch of tall grass near this basket I was practicing by, and apparently there's a swamp. And I accidentally threw my disc in the swamp. I went in there like 7 times. It's just like so deep I would actually probably have to swim to get my disc since it was probably at the bottom of the swamp. So we left that one. That one was actually super rare. It was like 20 to 30 years old, soft APX, and I don't know how much it was actually worth, but kind of sucks that we lost it. But then I played another tournament. It was a long day. My second round was actually really good, but I didn't end up cashing. And somehow I think I threw my putter at like a practice basket and I just left. I left the course. So hopefully somebody recognized my putter and I'll get it back. But even if I don't, what I did was I grabbed 3 putters that like I thought maybe I could putt with. Now, just from looking at these, which one do you think I ended up making my new main putter? So if I don't get that white one back that I was putting with for a long time, one of these 3 is actually just going to be sufficient enough if I decide to go buy 2 new putters, so I have like 2 of the same ones and I beat them in, blah blah blah. That's really one of the best ways to do it. But if you do have a bunch of putters, I do have a few tips on picking one that if you have to putt with it, there's a few criteria it has to meet. And I pretty much broke this down to 3 basic criteria. So the first one is that you're able to throw it straight about 100 feet, right? Because you don't want it to break off when you're throwing your normal putt. You don't want to have to like think about it too much. You want to just be familiar with the putter, whatever, familiar enough to be able to throw it 100 feet straight, or straight enough to make the putt, right? And then criteria 2 is something that I normally wouldn't drive off the tee with. So right away I'll tell you that this is a wizard that is pretty much brand new. It's been in a bag for a long time, but they never threw it, and then I won it in a CTP or whatever. But this thing is really stiff and very stable. I'm sure I could throw it off the tee pretty like 300 feet, no problem, just like throwing it really hard. And that makes this thing a no-go because it's pretty stable and it's gonna just it's gonna hook way too early for my turbo, because turbo putt, if you didn't already know, doesn't work so great with stable putters that you would drive with. So then the next thing is it's gotta feel comfortable in your hand, right? So like this thing I've been driving with a lot. It's a old Arrow, but basically it just flips up for me, but it's pretty fast. It's so fast. I don't understand. I might pull up the stats here on the screen, but this thing is so incredibly fast. So I'll throw it for like a dead straight shot. It'll like kind of like flip up just like a little bit, and I can make it go all the way like this, but I'm just so confident with it. I've been throwing it a lot lately, like within the last month, so this thing is pretty awesome. But the problem is this thing is so flat and wide, and it just doesn't have that much glide, like the glide that I'm looking for in my putter. So like I like something that's like, it slows down so I can really like throw it and it's just gonna go straight. It's not gonna like, you know, zoom past the basket or whatever. And so that's why I ended up with this one. Now this one was actually one of my putters like years and years and years ago, and then I think I ended up losing it or something like that. I saw it in a shop and I know the person who owns the shop, so I was like, hey, that's my putter. I forgot if I bought it or something from like at a huge discount, or he just gave it to me. It was so long ago that this happened, but this has been in my bag for a while. I use it for a couple drives, so this thing pretty much flies like an ultimate disc. I was about to go grab my ultimate disc, but it's way over there. This is like a fast ultimate disc, so like a fast, stable ultimate frisbee disc. So this thing is really awesome for putting in. One thing I will say right away is that since it's Z plastic, I've never actually had a main putter that's Z plastic, but this, I have used a Putt R, X Putt R for the longest time, and this is a Z Putt R, and it feels just right. And I did throw about 100 putts with probably these 3 after I noticed that I lost my main putter, and I can tell you that I was able to throw this one just more consistent. And one of the putts that is really important is, you know, sometimes you're not always in the open. Sometimes you have to throw anhyzer, but in my case it would be like this. And this thing, I can throw it dead straight and it's gonna go on the anhyzer just enough where I can make the putt. Unfortunately, this one, I don't know, I just couldn't get the glide that I'm used to out of my putters. And this thing, I can drive with this thing and it will flip up for me, but it's also pretty durable because it's Z plastic, but it's kind of, one thing I don't like about it is, since it's Z plastic, like, it's like a little bit slippery. I don't know how to explain it. I definitely don't feel the slipperiness on something like this, like DX or X plastic. The thing that I'm trying to say is, if you have a bunch of putters laying around, then it won't necessarily matter if you lose your main putter. Now obviously if it's a rare one, like I had a couple rare ones that I was putting with, that kind of sucks, but at the same time, if you're good enough, it shouldn't really super crucially matter which one you putt with, as long as it's one that you wouldn't drive with. So if it's like a brand new some people putt with Wizards, but like this one for me is just way too overkill. So this thing I would probably throw like a driver, like as a driver, 300 feet or less. That's just me. Maybe you guys putt with Wizards or something, but this one is too stiff. I'm sure there's some that aren't like this, but I have putt with a Wizard in the past, and I've never putt with an Arrow in the past. I was making a lot of putts with this, but the final thing I'm going to say is how I figured out which one was actually the best one was I started throwing longer putts. So like I was at like 60, 50 feet, and I probably threw like 50 putts, and what I noticed is, you know, because like my putt isn't like as much power as like backhand or like a sidearm putt, obviously. So I would just throw it straight. I would line up perfectly, and like this one would just cut out and hit the right side of the chains more often. This one I could throw pretty well, but at the same time it's pretty fragile. It's pretty fragile. So like if I would throw it pretty hard, it would like just hook left super fast on me, and I kind of don't like that. This disc is just too fast, and this one is just right. I mean, if I lined up right and just threw it straight, it would just go left side of the chains in the basket probably almost like every single time. So this is the one I'll be sticking with, and I'm actually not too sad about my main putters because I feel like if you're an experienced player, as long as you can find one that you won't drive with, you probably can putt. So hopefully you guys learned something from this, and make sure to keep some putters around. And I don't know, if anyone watching this video finds a beat up white APX that you've seen me throw, if you know me in person, give it back to me if you see it. Anyways, you guys, make sure to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.